y'all, and welcome back to Cup of Cheer. Wow, I cannot believe it's been another year since we last filmed, and I'm just so sluggish right now. Let me even see if that worked.
Yeah, I think we covered all the ones we know.
Howdy y'all, and welcome back to Cup of Cheer. So today I have with me my pastor, Pastor Josh, and I just want to let you all know at the outstart that he's going to be sharing some of his testimony with you today and what he loves about Christmas because of this. And because of that, for all of my folks out there that have little ones, I just recommend that you watch this before. It's not going to be explicit or anything, but every parent should kind of watch a testimony before they bring the whole family into it. So with that being said, let's get into this.
Yeah.
Hi, Pastor Josh.
Hi.
So the other day when I talked to you on the phone about doing this, I asked you a lot of different things about Christmas and what it means to you and what your favorite character is in the Bible and all those other things. And then you started telling me about your first Christmas after understanding about Christ himself.
Yeah.
And I was hoping you could tell my viewers out there a little bit about maybe your background and how this came to be at this moment.
Sure. Yeah, so the question you asked me was, do you have a favorite character in the Christmas story? There's so many, iconic characters as the story unfolds. And what I said to you was, not to sound cliche or whatever, but my favorite character is Christ because what his birth has meant to me and to my life. And I explained that in terms of I was not raised as a Christian or in a Christian home. And much of my life I spent in a sort of a really unhealthy pattern of drug use and alcohol abuse. And by the time I was in college, my father died, and I really spun out of control. And it was in the middle of that kind of lost, brokenness, hopelessness, despair that I came to Jesus. And Jesus saved me and lifted me out of that. And I never really thought much about Christmas growing up. We had Christmas at my house, and we had presents, but that's pretty much as far as I thought about it. And I remember the first, I became a Christian in February of 2008, and later that year, the woman who would become my wife, her family invited me over for Christmas, and I was there, and after dinner, her father said, let's sit down and read the Christmas story together. And I was like, the Christmas story? And he pulled out his Bible. And we read out of Luke chapters 1 and 2, the story of Christmas. And it had never occurred to me that, the whole reason we're celebrating this holiday is because Christ was born. And the only reason I'm sitting here with hope that, I can be free of my addictions is because Christ was born into the world. And his birth into the world literally changed my entire life. And the ramifications of his life and eventually his death continue to affect me, my family, our church, our community. So it's, I could go on, but, Christ is at the center of this holiday for me. Christ is what makes this holiday sweet. I appreciate Christmas trees and lights and all that stuff too. That's all very nostalgic. But around our dinner table, as we celebrate Advent, which is what a lot of Christians do during the month of December, we always are with our family and our friends trying to get to Christ at the center of all of these things. And it's because he's changed me forever.
Now I remember on the phone you also mentioned that before this Christmas, it had been a lot of stress to do gifts and things like that too. And I know this has nothing to do with some of your other background of the drugs and alcohol, but the gift giving was so stressful. Yeah. Do you still feel that stress about gifts, or are you kind of okay, we'll just do one gift through each because the real gift is Christ? And that's cool. Yeah. I mean, I think all of these different traditions are a way of expressing this joy of this gift.
Yeah.
So
there's people whose love language is gift giving.
That would be myself and my mom.
And there's people who definitely that is not their love language in terms of giving or receiving. So it's very hard for me to apply my mind to think about what kind of thing you might enjoy. Unless it's really obvious, I've always really struggled with that. Mm-hmm. And I've always felt over the holidays, everyone's like asking me like, what do you want? And like, they would like create all this like pressure, like, I don't know, like, I don't want anything. And then I felt like there was these expectations kind of placed on me to like come up with something. And so that was all very nerve-wracking for me. And it's funny how, as time's gone on, our family has just sort of settled into a pattern where, you know, we do gifts for our children. We have 4 sons. Everyone gets a gift at Christmas, but it's not a big hullabaloo. It's not the thing that we talk about all month is what are we going to get for Christmas. The thing that we talk about all month is Jesus Christ and what his birth means in terms of how it fulfilled the Old Testament, but then also how it has radical ramifications for everything we do as people in this world and how we treat each other and how we care for those in need.
And around Advent, do you do Advent like every day in your family or every night around the table together as a family? Are you a once a week kind of? I know at church we're once a week. Yeah. But as a pastor, I know sometimes there's the expectations of getting the sermons for every single week together. Are you still able to have that time once a night? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that's a big part of my drive home is praying about what we're going to talk about that night. So we do a kind of a non-traditional version of Advent where each candle, rather than representing a virtue, we have it represent John the Baptist and then the angels and then Mary and then the last one is Christ. And so we just spent this last week talking about John the Baptist, and last night we started talking about angels. Wow. And so we're, it's funny, Mike, Janine asked our children, what does an angel look like? And they're like, well, wings like a dove. It's like, well, where did that come from? And just like looking at pictures of angels in Scripture, and like they're actually kind of scary. And the kids going like, they're warriors? Like, whoa! So it's been really cool, kind of helping them appreciate what Scripture says about these things and how they help us to think correctly about them. So I've actually been very fascinated about angels lately. Yeah. I think it was last year when I was starting to study through Scripture and noticing in the birth story itself how many times angels are used is pretty incredible when you contrast it. And I could be wrong because I don't remember every single verse and every single story in the Bible, but I'm pretty certain it is by far surpassing any other story in the Bible in usage of angels, in their messaging, in their protection, and their ways of presenting themselves.
Yeah. It's interesting. The gospel stories have a couple of things like that, where there's like this concentration of supernatural things that you don't see as frequently in the rest of the Bible. So, for instance, demons are the same way. Sorry, I know this is a Christmas podcast. I'm not sure why I'm bringing this up. But you have an increase in activity of these cosmic beings in this place around this person who apparently is extremely significant. And of course, as Christians, we know it's Christ, the Son of God, who's going to bear the weight of the sin of the world in his death and resurrection. But from the perspective of the story, you're like, what is going on here? That there's all these angels and demons and miracles, and it's like, it's really awesome.
Yeah. I also found it interesting this Christmas, I realized for the first time. And I know, I'm 34 years old, and it amazes me. I grew up in the church. I grew up with the story of Christ's birth, and yet still, every single Christmas, I'm seeing something new. And it's like, how is that even possible? It's like one, yes, major story in the Bible, but it's still one story in the Bible, and I'm still seeing new things about it. Yeah. And this year, for the first time that I recall, I've noticed that, so the shepherds get the angels in a multitude of hosts. Mm-hmm. And then we have Mary who gets Gabriel, if I recall, straight into her house, at least somewhere in her abode. And, there's a few other angels that accompany the story, but Joseph only gets one in a dream. Mm-hmm. Twice. But only in a dream. Yeah. It's like, poor Joseph. Everyone else gets actually visited by these angels. Yeah. And
Zechariah, when he's in the temple, the angel appears to.
Yeah, that was the one. I'm like, he's somewhere else. Yeah. But Joseph, it's like, did I really see that? Yes, you did. And it was in a dream. And at least he doesn't doubt it. But it's still like, oh, man. Yeah. It's interesting.
It is fascinating the number of different ways that the Lord chose to communicate to people as that was happening. Mm-hmm. It's almost like he had kind of his own purposes for doing it that way. But yeah, it is fascinating. I feel the exact same way about all the Christmas stories. For our Advent at church, we're preaching through Luke chapter 1. And then at the Christmas Eve service, we'll do a long reading of Luke chapter 2. But as we've been working through the various texts of Luke chapter 1, I'm on Mary's Song this coming Sunday. And I was looking at it earlier, just going like, what does it mean? When Mary says, my soul magnifies the Lord. Like, my soul is showing forth the greatness and the glory of my God. And just what like a powerful sentence that is, and how I want to be like that. It's just like, the glory of her character in Luke 1 in particular is just, it's riveting, She says, from now on all generations will call me blessed because of what God is going to do in her and through her. But you can see why God set his love upon her, chose her. Her humility and her faith in his word was just unprecedented. And as Eric said on Sunday, I want to be more like that. So,
I have been very fascinated with Mary versus Joseph contrast in the birth story as of the last couple of years. I think it's partially even seeing my friends and my family as they have children and getting to see that other side of it instead of from the child's perspective. And it's like, I don't know, there's a lot of fascinating concepts to this that I could talk on and on and on about, because I love Christmas. It's not just like the bells and whistles of it, though that's really fun for me, but it's also the seeing how much this story in the Bible, this in my heart, true story in the Bible, brings the Old Testament and the New Testament and shows us that God is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and it brings it all together in one story.
Yeah.
Now, it's told in a couple places in the Bible, but it's still one story.
Yeah.
That doesn't differ, like, it doesn't, what's the word I'm looking for?
Clash or contradict.
Contradict, that's the word. It doesn't contradict the other one.
Right.
The other telling of the same story.
Yeah.
And so it's fascinating to me, and like I said, to be 34 years old, raised up with this story, and still see something new every year is pretty amazing to me.
You know what else is a super underrated part of Christmas season, I think? Is like, at least in America, it's like a time of year where all of us, regardless of your faith, kind of like agree that we should do our best to be kind to each other and like value our family and like give each other gifts. I mean, it's interesting to think about, like, we give each other gifts. Like, how often do we do that, like in any other... But in this particular time, like, culturally, we have agreed that this is a valuable thing to share.
And this is why I do this video.
Yeah.
Because I have friends and viewers from all different walks of life and faith. Yeah. And I don't think that it has to be just like, it's our holiday. It's like, no, it's beautiful to me, and it has always been beautiful to me, that I can share the beauty of this season with my atheist friends, my Jewish friends, many other faiths of which I can't think of friends, and it's like, you know what, this is a beautiful time of year. I used to love it that you could go to, it's not quite as it was when we were kids. We're the same age, folks. But when I was younger, I remember at Christmas time, it was so awesome to get to go like downtown or something near where shopping areas were, and people would actually be nice to each other despite the fact that traffic was nasty and that workloads were heavier and that family you might not like is coming to town. There was this weird kind of like peace about it despite the chaos, and I loved that. I love that we could see that. And as Christians, we have a different glimpse at what kind of peace that can be. Sure. But
it's good when people love each other.
Yes.
It's good when people are kind to each other. It's like, we want that. That's called the common good. Like, we want the common good. I'm just, obviously Christmas is going to have a different significance for those of us who walk with Christ. And yet, like, we can gladly and like gratefully affirm like that this is like culturally a good thing for all of us. Like, when we love our neighbors, that's good for everyone. So.
Thank you for taking part in this today. And thank you, Josh, for sitting down with me and taking out some time in your busy schedule to do this. This has been a wonderful conversation. I hope to keep these up with you.
Yeah. Maybe
not in video form every time, but
sure.
I'd love to keep talking to you about Christmas because this has been awesome. And almost anything else. But thank you for watching. I hope that you are having a very blessed Christmas season. From me and mine to you and yours, have a very Merry Christmas and a cup of good cheer.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas, we wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin, good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everyone!
Nelly Twinkie Marker, sweet message.
How do you say Merry Christmas?
All right. Feliz Navidad.
Yeah, I think